The King's Choice. Illustrated by, retold by. There was once a lion who was king of the forest. He was big and strong. He was both handsome and fierce. All the other animals in the forest called him king and brought him gifts from every corner of the land. But the more the lion had, the more he wanted. A king must have a court, he said to himself one day. The lion called a fox to his side. You are known to be a wise and clever creature, Fox, said the lion. I want you to be my advisor. Thank you, Your Majesty, said the fox, bowing low. The lion next called a leopard to his side. You are known to be watchful and swift of foot, leopard. I want you to be my bodyguard, said the lion. Thank you, Your Majesty, said the leopard, bowing low. The lion then called a vulture to his side. You are a bird, vulture, and can fly high. The lion said, You will be my messenger. Thank you, Your Majesty, said the vulture, bowing low. The fox, the vulture, and the leopard took an oath of loyalty to the king. The king promised to meet them as friends and to give them food and protection. For some time, all went well. The Lion King's court. In the Lion King's court. His wishes were law. Whenever he roared, they came running. Whenever they took a walk, they meekly followed behind him. When the Lion King went hunting, they found the animals for him to kill, and after he had his meal, he left the remains for them. So they always had enough to eat. One day, the vulture came back from a flight. Your Majesty, have you ever tasted camel? He asked. I ate a camel in the desert once, and it was very nice. The lion had never seen a camel, but he liked the idea of trying camel's meat. But where can we get the camel? He asked. There is a desert some miles away, said the vulture. I have just been flying over it, and I saw a lone camel. It looked big and fat. The lion looked at his other advisors for their opinions. Now the fox and the leopard had never seen a camel either, but they did not want the vulture to seem wiser than they, so they said it was a good idea. If the vulture would fly ahead and show them the way. So the vulture's idea was approved, and the next morning the lion and his court started off on the camel hunt. They reached the edge of the desert easily, but after they had left the shelter of the forest, the day became very hot. The sun shone down with fire-hot rays. The vulture flew high up in the colder air. Hurry along, he said. The camel is not far off. But the lion could not hurry anymore. The hot sand had burned his paws. Stop, he shouted to the others. I can't walk no further. I can walk no further. Let us go back to the forest. I do not care to try camel meat. The Lion King's advisors were frightened. The forest was far behind them. They did not know how to get the lion back home. The leopard wanted to run away. The vulture wanted to watch and wait and eat the lion later on. But the clever fox thought of a plan. Off into the desert he ran, saying, I will soon bring help. I know. Okay. After running for some time, the fox found the camel. The camel was indeed surprised to see a fox there in the desert. Hurry up, friend camel, said the fox. Our king wants you at once. Your king, said the camel. Who's he? I don't know anything, any king. I only know my master for whom I carry goods across the desert. Our king, the lion, has killed your master, said the fox. Now you are free, and the lion has invited you to live at his court. Come along. So the camel followed the fox. When the fox and the camel reached the lion's camp, the vulture and leopard were surprised. The lion looked pleased, in spite of his burned paws. The camel was presented to the king and agreed to serve the lion in return for a home at his court. Get on the camel's back, your majesty, said the fox. We will return home. The lion at once jumped on to the camel's back. His quarters, the fox and the leopard jumped up behind him, and with the vulture flying up ahead as a guide, they set off on the long journey back to the forest. When the travelers again reached the king's domain, they were all very tired and hungry after a long day. The fox and the leopard and the vulture looked at the camel. Then they looked at one another and smiled hungry smiles. They had brought the camel for a king's dinner. Now it was time for the feast. The Lion King knew what his quarters were thinking. He called the camel to him. Friend camel, he said, I have to thank you for saving my life. You are welcome to live at my court as long as you wish. I promise you my protection. This did not please the courtiers a bit. Had they not risked their lives so that he could try camel meat? And now the king wants to let the camel live? But they could do nothing. After all, the king was the king, so they waited. Now the lion's paws were so badly burned that he did not feel like going hunting. But that did not keep him from being very hungry indeed. Fox, leopard, vulture, he shouted. Don't you see that I'm ill and hungry? Go and get me some food. The courtiers had went to obey the king, so off they went. But the courtiers had to obey the king, so out they went, but they did not go far. In a safe place, they sat down and discussed what they could do. "I know," said the fox, after a while. "We shall make the camel ask to be eaten." And he told the others of his plan. They all agreed that it was good, and back they went to the king. First, the vulture stepped forward, bowing low. "Your Majesty," he said, "we have found no food, but we cannot let you suffer. I am a poor creature," he said. "Eat me." The fox pushed the vulture aside. "I have more meat on me," he said. "Eat me, Your Majesty." Now the leopard rushed forward. "I am not much good," he said, "but I can make a meal for the king." The camel listened to all these offers and thought he must do as much. "Your Majesty," he said, "I too am willing to give away my life to save the life of the king. These old friends are more useful to you than I am. Eat me instead." At these words, the fox, the leopard, and the vulture appeared, prepared to jump on the camel. This was what they were waiting for. But the lion stopped them. "You are all good and loyal subjects." "You are all good and loyal subjects," he said. "My heart is touched by your offers. I accept them all. I shall eat you in the which order you offered yourselves." The vulture, the fox, and the leopard were shocked. This did not suit them at all. Away flew the vulture, away ran the fox and the leopard, and they were never seen in that part of the forest again. The lion laughed to see them go. Then he turned to the camel and said, "You have truly been loyal and good. You shall be my friend as long as we both shall live. Now let's go through the forest and see if we can find a meal for ourselves." The camel was happy and grateful, and the lion thought to himself, "To be a king is good, but to be kind is better."